Welcome to how-to tutorial on doing the test and energize. When you select any one of the exercises from 1 to 10, you'll be presented with this particular page. Now, things to remember I want to show you here is that you can click on Give Me Hint anytime, and you will not be given any penalty by asking for hints. That giving hints takes some time to present, so you'll be penalized in the sense of how long it takes to give you the hint. You can begin the test, and as soon as you begin the test, the time remaining up here will show you 5 minutes and it'll start to count down. So let's have a look at that. Press begin test, and that resets the 5 minutes and it'll start to count down. Now, the procedures is an important part of what you really should be looking at all the time. So here it says initial safety check. So initial safety check involves checking your meter, but when you press, make sure you're pressing it in the middle on the test. Press that for at least 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. You make sure you are having a look at the voltage on the voltmeter. Usually give you a question. When a question comes up, is the voltmeter okay? The timer will stop. So the remaining time you see there stopped its countdown. So take your time when you are answering this and make sure you get the right yes or no answer. So is the voltmeter okay? So yes, you do. And every time there is a question like this, you will always be given a feedback. So here it says it is correct to utilize the volt test feature, ensures that the multimeter is set at volt AC and expect the reading of around 230 volts. If you didn't obtain a result, you might not have pressed the test button long enough. So after reading that, as soon as you click continue, the timer will stop. Now in this demonstration, because I'm doing a lot of talking, I have suspended the time, but every time you will click on continue, the timer will restart itself. So from here, it will give you some hints, basically. Test the meter panel, so you put that on 8 and 7. Make sure that the point of the probe is in the middle of the circle. So that's okay. Check that. It is 3.3 volts. We go back to the volt test. So from the volt test, go into the test, press that 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, and it's showing 233 volts, so that's fine. The next part is that you might see some icons like this, like the gloves. So what it's really wanting you to go and do is to click on that icon and say gloves on. So another question, is it necessary to wear gloves? Yes, it is. So it is essential to wear gloves for the upcoming tests, as they will involve exposed live conductors. Furthermore, when disconnecting the neutral, there is a possibility that it may have been swapped with an active wire or could still carry current. Once you have read that, you click on continue. The next bit is going to give you a thing here to go and click the handle, so that opens up the panel. Next part is alternate supply check. So the alternate supply check will involve going to the top of our main switch and into the independent earth, and that shows us 239.4 volts, and checking the underneath of that, which is where our customer are connected to. So this makes sure that there is no alternate supply coming from our customer. Sometimes when we have a cyclone or storms, a lot of people have got their power off because of the damage, and some of them get a generator and connect their generator to the system. So just make sure that there's no alternate supply. So in this case, there is no alternate supply. If the customer's installation is connected to a generator extension lead from the neighbor, there could be voltage of 230 volts present at the lower terminal. So now we'll continue. Now it tells you to disconnect the neutral, so you can remove that by clicking on the neutral line here. So click on that. It will now show you that the next test that we have is polarity test. Please make sure you follow the sequence: active neutral, active independent earth, active consumer neutral, and then neutral independent earth, because otherwise it's not going to allow you to finish this test until you go and do those tests in sequence. So start with the active and the neutral. That gives you the answer there. You know you've done it right. The next one will be active to independent earth. Gives you that value. And active to consumer neutral, which is number 5 over here, where it is connected to the consumer. And then last but not least is neutral to independent earth. Now, try and do all those tests as soon as possible, because while you are doing that, the timer is still going. And as soon as you have finished that, another question pops up, which means that the timer would have stopped going. So are the readings acceptable? Let's have a look at that. Active neutral, it's a nominal voltage. The active independent earth, that's also a nominal voltage, but that also gives us that the active is the real active. The next bit, the consumer neutral, those two readings should be exactly the same, and that indicates that we have good MEN connection. And finally, the neutral voltage test is 3.3 volts, which is all acceptable. So the readings are acceptable, so yes. So this gives you an idea on what you're supposed to have tested. So we click on continue. Now, we check the neutral voltage, happens to be there already. That's 3.3. Is the voltage acceptable? Yes, it is. Okay, we click continue. Next part is the neutral integrity test. So in neutral integrity test, we put our probes between the active and the neutral, and we click the start of our neutral integrity tester. This gives us 0.51 volts. Is that reading acceptable? Yes. It gives you a feedback there. The WPS005 specifies an acceptable neutral integrity impedance of less than 1 ohm. So we continue. We now look at the voltage quality check, which it is already on the active neutral. We have a voltmeter over here. So that's 236. Yes, the voltage is acceptable. So we click yes. So it tells you that the Australian standard is between 216 and 253 volts. We'll click on continue. Now, we have now basically finished all the tests that we need to do, and we need to reconnect the neutral. It just reminds us to be cautious when we are putting it back there, because there could be electrical current flowing through the neutral wire from a fault elsewhere, not necessarily the installation. So we click continue, and we click somewhere along this area here to put the neutral back on. So question now is, should the service be energized? So let's have a look at our readings again. The polarity tests are good. The MEN is good. The neutral voltage is good. The neutral integrity test is good. The voltage quality is good. So yes, the service should be connected. So everything is okay, and we may connect the service. We will have to go and do a public safety check later to make sure that there is no voltage issue on our panel. But in the meantime, yeah, we should energize that. So just before closing the panel, thoroughly inspect inside to ensure all connections are made and securely fastened. So we'll click on continue. So here it tells us to click the handle to close the panel. So click there. Next bit is we need to go and do a public safety check. So we'll click on continue. Public safety check is a null voltage check. So we check our meter first. 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3. That's good. We check our panel, and our panel is 3.3 volts. It's not unusual to see the panel voltage to be equal to the neutral voltage, and in fact it should be, because the neutral, once we connect it back in again, will be imposed on the earth bar due to the MEN. So now that we are okay with that, we then go to check our meter again, 3 seconds, 233, so that's fine. So should the service be energized, meaning do we need to continue to keep this service energized? Yes, it is. We public safety check, so we say yes. And so if everything else okay, so we continue, and that's it. That is the test successfully done and the test completed.